talk a bit about what the background image requires and how Siteworks handles it. On the right-hand side, I just have a couple folders here. This upper one is actually the project folder where all of the project that we are showing in the Siteworks window is present. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But as it relates to the images themselves, what is required is a raster image that can be in the format of a JPEG, a TIFF file, a bitmap or BMP, also a GIF file, so that if I just pop open a typical, in a viewer, can show you that that is the Trimble Westminster office building, actually in the state of construction. And this was exported out of Business Center, so you can see I actually do have some line work and surfaces present there. So you need a raster image, but you also need what is called a world file. These are standard types of sidecar files that are named the same as the image file, except with the extension. You can see here that I have a JPEG file, and my world file is going to be named with the extension is the first and last letter of the extension plus a W. So in this instance, for a JPEG, it will be JGW. For a TIFF file, it would be TFW. For a bitmap, it would be BPW, et cetera, et cetera. So what a world file is, it's simply a text file that just contains some geo-referencing information. We won't get into too many of the details of the text file itself and what these numbers represent. I will just say that this number here, 1.50 and minus 1.50, those are the size of a individual pixel within the image. And these numbers here represent the upper left-hand corner coordinate of the pixels in that upper left-hand corner in whatever project system that you are dealing with. So my project here is in a modified Colorado state plane, and you can sort of see based on the Siteworks window that where my cursor is. If I actually even go ahead and move my cursor and then bring that world file back up to the front, you can see that my northing is 1.2 million. Here I am at that last category, or the last line is about 1.2 million. My easting is 3.1 million, and you can see that that is what matches there. World files can be produced directly out of Business Center using the image capture command. It is a standardized format that needs to be produced outside of Siteworks. Currently, Siteworks does not have a way to do the referencing within Siteworks itself. Now, as to how these images are loaded and dealt with within Siteworks, as shown before, we have the Map Options tab, which we can get, or window, we can get to by tapping either the cog on the right-hand side menu bar. That also is available in the settings. We can do map display settings and we get to the same place. Now, once I tap on the images tab, notice over in my project folder, as soon as I tap on that, there is now a new background images folder that's been created. But if I open that, we'll see that it's empty because we haven't imported any images yet. So when I have an image that I want to import within this screen, I want to just make sure that that checkbox is enabled so that the image will be visible when I return to Siteworks. But to just add an image, all you have to do is you would tap that plus button, and then you have to go ahead and navigate to the folder where that image file is located. And in this instance, because I did not previously have any background images loaded with my site, I would need to navigate to, in this case, it's on my desktop, and I have a folder that would be called WCO background images. And then in that folder, I have these two JPEG images. Now, when I select the image, I have to have a world file present with it. So if I just hit this JPEG working, hit accept, it'll show me a preview button here. You can also see in this window that it copied those files into that background images folder that's located in my projects folder. So that is how things would work if you have a world file. And then once I hit accept, I can just go ahead and I am back in my main map screen, and then now I have a background image present. And if I wanted to change the display of that image, I can do a couple things. I can just toggle it off and on. So if I just hit that checkbox, that is how you shut the image off. And if I wanted to change the opacity of it, so make it so that it is more faint and not as prominent, I can do that via this drag down, which just gives you 10% increments on that opacity value. So that are the basic kind of commands on how the image is brought in and displayed in Siteworks.